Yes. Hour strikes and salute the captain's door. Certainly no onerous duty, and a necessary one, for he must remain alert both to guard and to wait on his master. Last night the captain wished to ascertain whether the servant was performing his duty. On the stroke of 2 he opened the door and found him curled up asleep. He fetched his horsewhip and struck him across the face. Instead of then getting up and begging for pardon, the man seized his master by the legs, shook him and yelled, "Throw away that whip or I'll gobble you up." Those are the facts of the case. The captain came to me an hour ago. I wrote down his statement and at once appended the sentence. Then I had the man put in chains. That was all very simple. If I had first summoned the man and interrogated him, it would have only led to confusion. He would have lied. If I had succeeded in refuting these lies, he would have replaced them with fresh lies, and so forth. But as it is, I've got him and I won't let him go. Is everything now clear? But time's getting on. The execution ought to be starting and I still haven't finished explaining the apparatus. Pressing the voyager to resume his seat, he went back to the apparatus and began. As you can see, the shape of the harrow corresponds to the human form. Here he is. Here is the harrow for the trunk. Here are the harrows for the legs. Reserved for the head is just this one small engraver. Is it that clear to you now? He bent forward amiably towards the voyager, willing to provide the most comprehensive explanations. The voyager studied the harrow with a frown. The information about the judicial process had failed to satisfy him. All the same, he had to remind himself that this was a penal colony, that special measures were necessary here, and that military procedures had to be adhered to throughout. But he also placed some measure of hope in the new commandant, and the new commandant. Who evidently intended to introduce, however slowly, a new kind of process that went beyond this officer's limited understanding. Pursuing this line of thought, the voyager asked, "Will the commandant attend the execution?" "Is it not certain?" said the officer, put out by the abrupt question, and his friendly expression became contorted. "That is just why we must lose no time. I shall even have to curtail my explanations, much as I regret it, but of course tomorrow, when the apparatus has been cleaned up, its only drawback is that it becomes so messy. I could easily add more detailed points. For the present, then, just the essentials. When the man is lying on the bed and this has been set vibrating, the harrow is lowered onto his body. It adjusts itself automatically so the tips of the needles just touch the body. Once the adjustment is completed, the steel belt tautens immediately to form a rigid bar, and now the performance begins. The uninitiated onlooker notices no external difference in the punishments. The harrow appears to do its work in a uniform manner. As it quivers, its points pierce the body, which is also quivering from the vibration of the bed, so as to enable anyone to scrutinize the carrying out of the sentence. The harrow is made of glass. Getting the needles mounted in the glass presented certain technical problems, but after numerous experiments we managed it. No effort was spared, you understand? And now anyone can observe through the glass how the inscription on the body takes place. Wouldn't you like to come and take a closer look at the needles? The voyager got slowly to his feet, walked across and bent over the harrow. "You notice," said the officer, "two kinds of needles in a variety of patterns. Each long needle had a short one beside it. It is the long one that writes, and the short one that squirts out water to wash away the blood and keep the script clear at all times. The mixture of blood and water is led here into small channels, and finally it flows into this main channel, which has a drain pipe into the pit." The officer traced with his finger the exact course that the fluid had taken. The officer traced with his finger the exact course the fluid had to take. when he then, in order to make the picture as vivid as possible, cupped his hands at the mouth of the pipe as if to catch the outflow. The voyager lifted his head and, groping behind him with one hand, began to back away towards his chair. He saw then, to his horror, the condemned man had also followed the officer's invitation to Inspector Harrow at close quarters. He had pulled the sleepy soldier a little way forward on the chain, and was bending over the glass too. One could see him searching with a puzzled look for what the two gentlemen had just been examining, and in the absence of any explanation, being quite unable to find it. He bent over this way and that. Repeatedly he ran his eyes over the glass. The voyager wanted to drive him away, for what he was doing was probably a punishable offence. But the officer took a firm hold of the voyager with one hand, and with the other grabbed a clod of earth from the embankment and threw it at the soldier. The latter looked up with a start, saw what the condemned man had dared to do, dropped his rifle, dug his heel into the ground, and tugged his charge backwards, so that violently that he collapsed. Then he stood looking down at him as he writhed about and rattled his chains. "Stand him up," shouted the officer, for he realized that the voyager's attention was being seriously distracted by the condemned man.